with this one, you're going to take it by the handles and point it at me. Everybody's going to look over your shoulder so I can do the quick demo. You guys all see me in there? So this camera is a depth perception camera. So, yes, exactly. So structured light sensory. So what this camera does is it picks up on anything that's in front of something else. I am in front of the building, so I will be the stick figure. If I move, the bicycle and the parking meter will be the stick figure. So I want to point out two things on this camera. Do I have 3 points for my face on that camera?
Yeah.
I have 2 eyes and a nose. That's the depth of my face. My nose is in front, eyes are behind. That's why there's 3 points on there. When I'm looking to debunk things through this camera, I always take a lot of screenshots, because if there's another figure there, first thing I look for is those 3 points. Then I brighten it up and I make sure it's not the parking meter in the tree, or Chuck in the darkness. You guys are seeing the point. It'll pick up on everything that's in front of something else. It's great for debunking things. You have one button as well. It's
can
red
do that
right now. Can you tap the red button so it turns white? To give you the history, and I'll do a few round robins with this group and then regroup us to start giving you all the answers and showing you how it all pieces together, if we have anything at all to piece together. Remember, the ghosts are not on the payroll. I cannot make them do anything. I will tell you, by the way, just a little, I think I already told the two of you, I will tell you by the end of our night, how our night was. If it was a light night, I will be the first one to tell you. If it was an average night or a holy shit night. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. And I do have a scoring system, so we'll know exactly how your night went once I'm done with your data. Moving on. What is this place? Oh, spirit boxes. I'm going to start withholding information starting now. I will not be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. I'll give you impromptu questions once we spread out. Based off of your type of communicator, you can go rogue. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I always like to let you know this is where I'm going to start withholding. This is the Charles and Eliza Pinckney mansion. Their mansion sat in the front of the space, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. That's the layout of the land. So, who the hell were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Chucks, in case nobody was paying attention. That's exactly why we look for secondary clues. So, sorry, Chuck, I kind of threw your name out there again. Now we have 4. Now we have 4, because we have him. But with the 3, if somebody hears the name Charles, I need to know which one they're referring to so I know how to address them. So again, that's why we look for those secondary clues. So he's just going to be taking the beverage out. You guys are all looking over there like, who's that guy coming? He's not a ghost. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics, especially 2 days away from an election. So I'm going to move on. If I don't give the gentleman their recognition, they will do it for me in a very nasty manner coming out of a spirit box. So I just give it to them and we move on. We're going to discuss Eliza instead. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I say it slowly because if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, don't expect numbers from the colonial times when girls got married at like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards, because the husband was over double her age when they married. Kind of a creepy age gap then, kind of a creepy age gap now. I'm just going to put it out there how I feel about it. Anyway, moving on. She married him because her father was over in England. Dad thinks he's dying over there, and he's trying to bring all of his children home one last time. Well, Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put right here and got married. It's 1744. You do not get married in that particular year to earn a green card. We are not a country yet. There's no such thing. She married him out of love. This is a true love story, everybody. There's nothing horrific about this location. You're going to see that it's actually a place of respect moving forward. She was correct. Dad did not die right away. And instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to where you're standing. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. That is a plant that makes blue dye and makes your blue jeans blue. Some of the gentlemen here are wearing it tonight because that's what we use it for. When she got her seeds, though, no idea what to do with it. She had to learn from the servants and slaves how to keep it going. It's obviously not warm here all the time. Then she had to learn how to make the dye. She did that right here, and then moved it to a cash crop down by the Stono River. And basically started cashing in on it and told her father overseas that basically the rice plantations they had were going downhill and that they were going to make a killing with the indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. It is something absolutely unheard of. Now, that's the boring business stuff of Eliza. Let's get into the weird shit, because that's why you guys are here. So, with all of the communicators, I'm going to basically, what type of communicator you have, I'll give you the set of questions that we commonly get answers to. But also keep in mind we have 3 cameras running, plus my voice recorder, that the answers can go anywhere. So if Sarah's asking a question, KIARA might get the answer. That's why you're going to tell me all of the weird stuff that you're doing. If you go rogue, off the beaten path of the questions that I give you, 3 little things. No yes, no questions. We've already discussed that. Be respectful at this location. And third, do not ask about Eliza's children. All activity will stop. So that's kind of how this goes. I'll explain before we leave the space. So left to right, Dan, you're going to be focused on Eliza because, well, you can ask all the questions about her marriage, so how long she was married, and that thing will give you numbers too. But the Eliza that I just told everybody about is the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. First wife, also named Eliza, died in January. 5 months later, he married the one I just told you about with the indigo. So kind of a jerk move or a smart move, depending on what kind of gentleman you are. Now, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. To figure out which Eliza we're dealing with. Not yet. I'm going to wait till everybody spreads out. So it's perfect you guys are sitting right next to each other because you guys have the same style of spirit box. It gives you a lot of gobbledygook. So you're going to have the same set of questions around her death. 4 major answers that we get answers to: age at time of death, how she died, where she's buried, which president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Age, how, where, president. Easiest ways to remember that. Last but not least, Kiki. The mansion's not here anymore. I love how she keeps reading. Ask what happened to the mansion. If we get a what, we often get 2 or 3 numbers of the exact date of when that tragedy occurred. These are very specific numbers. So kind of keep that in mind. Remember that your answers can go anywhere. So even if you're getting anything out of that one because of what that one does, I want to know everything that you hear out of that particular box. EMF meters, have we gotten anything? Nothing at all. So you do have that pole back there. So you're probably getting a little bit of a readout from that. We're going to talk more about the millimeters once we start getting some readings, but you all are going to be, let's spread out. I'll start doing round robins with everybody, give the spirit boxes a few minutes to get used to how they're actually, what'd you get?
3.4. Stay with me.
So that's your new baseline. I was waiting for a number to actually occur. So you're still at a 2.5, but as you guys get higher numbers, don't tell me the ones below the higher number, if that makes sense. So that way, nobody wants a whole report just filled with numbers, because you're going to go back and forth quite a bit. So now your new baseline, Karen, is going to be a 3.4. Don't tell me anything below that. If you get a 5, that'll be your new base, and we'll keep it growing. So we've got a little bit of something. I'm not impressed with it yet. You'll see as we kind of move throughout this space. But we are going to stay within the confines of this lot. I'll do probably 2 round robins, but you guys paid to get to work, so go to work. Let's do this.
Do you want to start? I don't understand what I'm doing. Just record and see if you pick anything up. I have to ask.
Am I recording yet? How do I know if this is recording? Kiki. What?
What happened to the mansion?
Keep walking.
What happened to the mansion?
On a full ghost tour with Kiki. What happened to the mansion?
Can you stop recording me? I'm serious. This isn't funny. It's like you're drunk.
On a ghost tour.
Can you go your own separate
I want to
way?
hear what you're talking to. What are you talking to?
Can you tell? Can you tell me what happened?
Kiki, look.
I said love. Can you go your own
I
separate
want
way?
to hear. Everyone else is with their partner. I want to hear.
Stop. They're real.
I know that everyone's with
Can
their
you
partner.
go?
But
you
no one is
can't-
by themselves.
Listen to me. You have to be respectful. Like, if this is real, like, it's... She gets it.
We're trying to listen.
Do you want to tell me what happened?
stop ditching me. It's weird. I'm here with you. I'm not embarrassing. I'm not gonna sit there by myself.
You're here, you're drunk, you're stumbling
I'm not
around.
drunk. Are you
I'm not
kidding
gonna
me?
argue with you. Just either be normal or don't be normal. Who's that? Oh, that's that.
It's right there. I don't either. So don't ditch me.
If you've heard anything yet,
I'm trying to enjoy the. She keeps saying love. Keeps saying love every fucking time.
Is that someone saying something?
They pull it from the
how are we
radio.
doing over here, lady?
Good.
What have we heard?
I keep hearing love
Okay.
and falling.
Falling in love.
So that's the gist of it.
Okay, you're on the right path. So one of the major things I tell people with spirit boxes to listen for, the 3 N's, names, nouns, and numbers. So again, it's not like a conversation like, hey, how are you? Great, I'm having tea. Like, I don't give a shit about that stuff. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's real-time
Right.
moment stuff. It's more like, is she gonna give us all of the names, nouns, and numbers that we need to be able to verify her presence?
Okay.
That's basically what we're after.
So what type of questions should I be asking them?
Same thing. Like,
Okay.
continue going after the mansion.
Okay.
You know, you can even jump off the beaten path. Like, can you just give us the month of when the tragedy happens in the mansion? You know, if you want to sing, if you go rogue and ask whatever you want to, just be respectful and no yes, no questions.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, stay away from the kids. Please don't ask about the kids.
Okay. Just don't talk about it. Just don't. Please, just don't. I don't want to die. It's like, I believe in this shit. Okay.
So what if I scream and ask about the kids?
Well, then stop. It's
He
not
just said
funny.
it.
Okay, but it's like, he's like, you know, she said no. Please don't. Please don't.
I'm not. I'm not asking about the kids.
So she said. Can you tell me what
He's right behind you.
Can you tell me what month the incident happened? What date is it?
Trying to listen.
What month? sounds like it's saying June, but then it sounds like it's saying November.
Here, let another person.
Okay, here, you want to ask? Ask
Oh, you're the
what
person.
month did the mansion... Just say what month did the incident happen?
What happened in what month?
Oh my god, did you see that? There was something on your screen. Oh,
That's
hell
a
no.
tree.
What month did it?
Ask a different question. Ask a different question.
What should I ask?
Tell me about the mansion. What do you miss about the mansion?
What do you miss about the mansion? What do you miss
If it's
about
going
the
to stay there
mansion?
for a bit, it's going to come from a man-made object. An 8 down to like less than a 2 is not a man-made object. Definitely. Alright, take that 8. What about you two ladies? Have you got anything weird going on?
I haven't gotten any like definite like words or anything, but I got 2nd and June, but I also got November, so
Okay. November is an easy grab. It is relevant slightly. I would want something else to go along with it. But you heard the word June?
yes.
Yeah, that's yeah, we're going to talk about that
Oh, okay.
once I read it. I'm excited. This is me excited, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Okay, great.
Oh, you don't want to see us excited? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to pat your back and I hit the bag.
When you said June, it changed into my mother. I don't know if that matters.
It does.
You guys work in conjunction with each other.
That was weird. When you said June, my mother popped up.
I love how this all correlates.
So that was like over years.
Oh yeah, let's just get you back on mute. In this space, so you want to point the cameras almost outside of our circle. Yeah, we want to get you back on. So whenever you start it back up and you open up that screen, you're going to hit the tallest button to go back to night vision.
Okay.
There you go. Now you just hit the record button on the back. So with those cameras, and you're pointing them outside of our circle, just remember other tours will come through here. We'll split the seas. You will lower your cameras so we're not filming the people walking by, and that does include regular tourists or any other groups are coming by. They're all going to be staring at you anyway. So welcome to, it's actually a little warmer down here. We don't have the freeze down here, so weird. So, by the way, millimeters. So that would be Karen and Patrick. So we're looking for an 8 or above at this location because the lamppost would go up to a 7. So again, we're going to debunk things ahead of time. Just go straight to an 8 as a new basic. This is Philadelphia Alley now, but this used to be called Duelers Alley. This is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So I say some of the duels because dueling was illegal back in the 1700s. They had to find hiding spots. This just happened to be one of the hiding spots. So every ghost tour comes down here. I give you the same story, just a few extra details because you're ghost hunting. You're not on a campfire marshmallow kind of ghost tour. So let's get into it. Doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. I said his name slowly because if the song Brown Eyed Girl shows up while we're here, even from the recording, it's part of his name. We get it here all the time. It's not coincidence. It's just him saying hello. So with Dr. Ladd, he moves here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancee, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a lot of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney helping her out with all of the cash flow. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of that doctor fellow. So he comes here to Charleston to prove that he's not. On his way into town, he got a coachman. The coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start to his stay here, but somebody was walking by. Oh, by the way, having a coachman that's ready to kill you is like having a really bad Uber driver in today's world. Sorry for those of you that are Ubering back to your hotels. You're welcome. But anyway, somebody's walking by and sees that the newcomer's about to be killed by this coachman because he knows him, and the somebody walking by is named Ralph Isaacs. Do those initials sound familiar to anything else I've said since we've been here? Rhode Island. Good job, Karen. Sorry, sometimes you guys look at me like a blank face. Like, we're supposed to be paying attention? Yes. So, Ralph Isaacs is a local attorney, and he goes up to the newcomer, Dr. Ladd, and he says, dude, I know this guy, the coachman. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. I got friends at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them, and you'll be safe and good to go. Well, Doc took him up on that offer, and the two gentlemen became friends. So the phrase, my friend, actually makes sense while we're here, because we're discussing two friends. So, the longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's proving his point. He's not after Amanda's cash, he's making his own. Well, Amanda got wind of this up in Rhode Island, and she's moving down so they can be married. Dr. Ladd then became known as the Whistling Doctor. This is why I hate the story. And I was going to take it out. First off, every ghost story comes down here, so if you've taken a ghost tour in Charleston, you've already heard this story before. But every haunted city you will ever visit is going to have a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. She's picking up on the leaves of the wall. I said it so quickly because I've seen it there before. So, and everybody, I'm looking really for somebody walking down the alleyway on the brick. Is really what we're after here. So very cool. I mean, at least you caught it. So, I mean, we're recording, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. So I'll be able to analyze it later just to verify that it was the leaves on the wall. So moving on. So you guys are all going to hear about a cliched whistling ghost from a haunted city. Ours just happens to be a doctor. So why are we in Dueler's Alley talking about a very happy doctor? We're not. Dr. Ladd and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. He gets better seats. That's how things went back then. So on the way home, they're discussing the new actress that they just saw on stage, and Dr. Ladd thought she was great. Well, Ralph didn't. They start arguing over the actress, and then Ralph is now insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It got really ugly between the two gentlemen, and they go their separate ways. But the next day, Ralph goes to his friends at the newspaper and places an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of shit. Well, doctor saw this ad and rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this because somebody's going to die. So they came down here, back to back. By the way, this whole argument started over an actress. I'm just going to point that out of how dumb shit was back in the 1700s. They come down here back to back. They took their 10 paces. They turned. Doc pointed his gun in the air and shot his one shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just needed the courage to show up to the fight. But Ralph has this one bullet still, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor, proving his point. He's still pissed and not willing to forgive. Doc fell to the ground. His friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later on November 2nd of 1786. So, ironically enough, that is Thomas Pinckney's birthday that we just had the happy anniversary from. He also refused medical treatment, and I'm going to just point out a few things about the last statement of the whole story. First off, it's 1786. Gunshot wounds back then are a lot different than what we know of them now. Secondly, he is a doctor. He probably just thought he had lead poisoning and tried to bleed it out himself, but he failed because he died. So, every ghost tour that comes down here and stays here and tells his story tells them to listen for the whistles. We have 3 cameras running plus my voice recorder. If we're going to capture a disembodied whistle, it will show up on one of those 4 devices more than likely. However, I can't tell you how many times in the past 5 years I've been coming here that I'm spot checking KIARA's recording, and when I'm spot checking all of your media, by the way, it's minute 1, 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm not looking and spot checking it in, there's a method to my madness. I get the whistling part of a song, and then the word doctor immediately after from a commercial. Happens all the time. I don't look for it, it just shows up. It's just him saying hello. So, if you're going to try this on your own, because I can't take you all the way through here, remember I've been booted out, we're going to talk about that in just a minute because it is the fun part of the story. If you're going to try it on your own with the voice recorders from your phones, just remember every local knows the damn story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street, we all throw a whistle down the alley. It's just something we do here. Even if I drive past this alley, I still whistle in the car. It's just something we all do here. So let's talk about how I got kicked out of here, because Sarah looks really, really interested. As soon as I say kicked out, she said trouble, let's hear about it. Now, the alley didn't always go all the way through the way we came in. There used to be a wall up there. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because this was called Cow Alley before it was Dueler's Alley. So we're going further back in time. It's called Cow Alley because they kept all the livestock here, cows, goats, and chickens. So they started down there and worked their way this way as they built it over the years to what you guys see now. We're talking hundreds of years. So those bricks down there are older than the ones we're standing on. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child down at the end that I used to tell my folks about as a history lesson. There's nothing paranormal about that brick. I used to tell my groups because the kid's not there. You guys already know how I feel about cemeteries. One night, November 26th, 2020. I'll remember this night for the rest of my life. Yeah, Kara's looking at me like, oh shit. Yeah, it's serious. So I told my group about the brick and I'm about to go show it off to them. And we get down there and they all stop and huddle around the brick waiting for something to happen the way we're standing right now. I'm trying to shoot them along. Like, guys, we got to get going. We can't stay here. I'm just trying to be respectful to the house at the end of the alley. Beautiful mansion. But we're standing right outside this gentleman's dining room window. And he gets pissed and he comes out and he's screaming his head off at me. My daughter was on the tour that night, by the way. She was about 14 years old and she thought it was hysterical. The dad was getting yelled at. She was all about it. We moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on holidays because I used to work in upper management for Walmart. Now, you guys fight over towels on Thanksgiving and scarred me for life. I don't do holidays anymore. Now, the next day was the 28th. I called my partner that brought me into tourism and I told him what happened and he's laughing already because he already received the complaint from the tourism office here in Charleston and he's basically said you're only allowed to go down halfway. Figure it out, and he hung up. I'm like, oh shit. So here's what happened. I'm sold out again because it's Black Friday. Tickets were much cheaper than Black Friday too. I could just kind of willy-nilly things at times. But anyway, I told my group that night, I can't take you that way, and where we're going, I've never had anything happen over there, and I'm into vampires, not pirates. I would normally tell you a pirate story next, but I've been booted out of there too. But before we left the space, oh, by the way, let me stop there for a second. If I tell you we're about to go investigate a pirate, who do you think we're going to investigate? Blackbeard. Blackbeard is usually the first name. Somebody heard the name Anne coming out of a spirit box. I didn't tell them it was going to be Anne Bonny, the female pirate. So, take that for what it's worth. I took them around the corner, told them what I did know about piracy in Charleston, and remember, it's not my thing. I had about 3 hours to do some quick reading. Didn't have much. Just let them kind of explore the space to see what happened. Somebody else heard the number 300. I didn't know what it meant. I wrote it down. Go back to the office. I'm researching. Turns out we were there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300th anniversary of her pirate trial. So, yeah, I usually get the wows and a couple of head nods, like, okay, I can see that. I was actually kind of pissed off. Let me explain. I have a master's degree in creative writing, and all of my bachelor degrees are in other forms of writing. I need facts and data when I'm researching because that's what I'm trained to do. Pirate stories come from pirate lore. Pirate lore was written 100 years after the days of Blackbeard and Anne Bonny. That's a problem for me. Because whenever you guys found something that could be relevant, I had to read like 5 textbooks just to try to verify it. I've done more reading on pirates than I've ever wanted to. That's why I was joking around about that pirate that just walked by, and I said I could probably like outdo their knowledge any day of the week because I played every video game, watched every documentary, read every damn book on pirates that I possibly could find, just trying to verify things. And that does include captain logs that I did get a hold of overseas. So pretty cool. Did you get some? Oh. I'm only telling you all of this pirate stuff because the bleed over still occurs because we're going to be next door to the place of where I've been kicked out of, but I can't tell you the story. So things can occur. I'm going to take that 16. That's actually very exciting down here. This is me excited, everybody, in case anybody wanted to take a picture. Again, I'm not a TV show host. I'm very excited because that is a rarity. So Patrick, you got nothing out of yours? Dag nabbit, you're fired, man.
I know Sarah the whole time, and then when you started talking about pirates, it started going on.
Weird. Dan, what do we got going on with the word list?
Inspiration elsewhere. Chase writer.
Writer?
Yeah, I did writer. Now it's coming down.
Okay. Not surprised. Oh, you know what? The writer actually might be relevant to who we're talking about. Like back to Dr. Ladd. Dr. Ladd actually wrote poetry while he was here in Charleston. I normally don't bring this up until something pops up around it. But after he died, because he was only 22 when he died, by the way, his sister Elizabeth actually published his work after he died. Died on Amazon. I have a copy at home. Very interesting work, actually. He wasn't a great writer, but he also wrote speeches for politicians. So I think that's what it is. So again, if we get something else relevant to that writer, it's going to be relevant to Dr. Ladd, not me.
Is he in faculty? That just happened while you're talking.
Let's see. So what's going to happen? How's your battery look on your camera, Angelina?
Good.
Really? Still good? You should have at least. You're done. We'll get you a new one when we get up there. So I carry several with me because that's the only camera I got to swap batteries out with, except for when we don't get one blanket late on Patricia's. So cameras, go ahead and hit your stop button when we get up around the corner. So I know. By the way, this parking lot you said looked really, really spooky. This is where we would investigate Anne Bonny, only because that is the gunpowder magazine. That building was being constructed at the same time Anne Bonny was coming here. This is what I would call a familiar. We don't have many buildings that she would actually recognize. This is one of them. That's why we would come here. So anyway, as I'm swapping out the battery and these lights for Angelina, here's the very quick story. First off, we're going to be on the St. Philip's cemetery side of things. Anybody know the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard? Go for it.
Graveyard's not part of a church. Cemetery is attached to a church.
Exact opposite.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Easy way to remember it. The house needs a yard. Church is with the graveyard. That's the easiest way to remember it. So we are going to the cemetery side of it because there are two sides to the St. Philip's, burial grounds. If you are a native Charlestonian, meaning you're from here, you can be buried on the graveyard side. If you're not, everybody else goes across the street. We're going to the across the street part. Wow, I got all kinds of moving parts and I'm not paying attention over here. We're not home. So when we get up there, here's the story that I actually replaced with. This is kind of a story within a story. Well, by the way, if anybody's not from here, the St. Philip's Church steeple is our tallest steeple, and no building in Charleston is allowed to be taller than the St. Philip's Church steeple. That's why we're called the Holy City. Our skyline looks like a bunch of church steeples. So we had a big fire in 1796. That's a big one. It's not the biggest, like the 1861 that I told you about earlier. But this church was being worked on, and they were kind of fixing things on the roof and things like that, and they didn't want this church to capture some of that fire. So what did they do? They blew up another church nearby, the French Huguenot church, so that way the fire, because it was moving across the city, had a place to go. Well, that didn't work out so well because it caught fire anyway, and it avoided the entire hole that they created for it to go through. So there is a slave down on the wharf. His name is Boney, and he sees that his church is on fire. So when he comes out of the wharf, running all the way over here, and he literally scaled the church. There's nothing, look at the church, guys, there's nothing to climb. There's nothing to grab. So he scaled the church to get up to the roof because it was made out of wood, and he was literally pulling wooden shingles off that were inflamed and engulfed in flames. So he essentially saved the church. The parish came together realizing what he did, and they actually purchased his freedom for him. It's just over $700. So,
Didn't I just say?
what did you just say?
It said, free my soul. And we didn't even think anything about it when we were talking about it.
Of course not. That's why I don't give you guys all the details right away. So there you go. You're about to sit up.
I was excited.
So the next part of the story, by the way, Boney is said to always stay near the church to kind of keep it protected. So they say the gray man is said to be seen inside of this cemetery that we're going over to. Here's the next part of the story. 100 years later, there is a little girl that lives next door to the church. Her name is Sally, and she's a bit of a smartass, kind of like what I called her earlier. She's hanging out with her friends, and her friends dared her to go into the cemetery at night, because she lives so close, and go place a cane over Boney's grave. She took him up on the dare. And in the middle of the night, she goes over there, and she runs to the back of the cemetery where she thinks Boney's grave is at, and she gets scared and immediately runs out. And crap, I forgot to leave the cane. So she runs back in, and she stakes the cane into the ground next to where she thinks Boney's grave is at, and gets scared again, but she can't run away and frightens herself to death. I know it's an old wives' tale kind of a story, but basically they say that she staked the hem of her dress into the ground, causing her not to be able to run away. Here's why I'm telling you this very myths and legendy kind of story. I don't normally do this, but one night when I was telling a group the story I don't like to tell because it's cursed, I'm going through the recording, and I get a disembodied voice. It went over 5 different radio stations. Normal transmission of FM frequency normally goes between 2 to 3. This went over 5. And it said, Sally, over a little girl's voice. So I'm like, oh shit, I remember this story. Maybe she's the one I need to start talking about. About 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago, with the camera that Angelina's using, we did capture a giant orb moving intelligently through that cemetery. When I say intelligently, it wasn't just a bug-like size thing swooping across the screen. That shit I throw away. I don't even look at that. We have a giant ball that moves, stops, turns, moves. It's doing all of these intelligent things. This went on for probably about 3 minutes. So it was pretty pretty big deal. I make sure like their camera was not moving with it and like reflecting off of the light and all. There was a lot of debunking that went into it because it was such a large anomaly. With that, I don't think I told you at the beginning of our nights, but the end of the flashlight part of your light actually extends, and you can make it brighter, but it'll be a much smaller portion. So you'll want to play around with that once we get up to that cemetery. All 3 cameras will be on the cemetery, so if she gets some kind of motion, I want to know what the other cameras were doing. So with yours, I do want you to basically get up there and just put it up on the ledge and leave it alone, but watch it. I don't want you moving with it because there's a lot of layers in there and we'll get a lot of false anomalies. So just lay it up against the grate, make sure that the camera portion is in between the wrought iron bars, and you guys will all be listening into your spirit boxes. We'll stay up there for about 8 to 10 minutes seeing what we got. Do we have anything else weird that I need to know about? And what was that phrase that you heard again? Free my soul?
Free my soul.
Okay. All right, let's go see if we can talk to Boney and Sally. And you guys can come up with whatever questions you want to over here, because again, this is not a controlled environment. I just want the activity to verify it's going on. So again, this is still new. Every November, I really test and try a new story because I change this every year. So yeah, they're all telling the same damn story. If we get stuff relevant to that, I'll tell you what that is once we regroup. We're going to go up there for about 10 minutes. We'll come back down here, and I'll have to explain our last 2 stops because it's completely different than what we've been doing. Again, every stop is a little bit different, but the last 2 are like the grand finales of things. So let's go see if we can find Sally and Bonnie. Let's do it.
Just said donate happily.
I feel like it sounds familiar. It does. I read a book in middle school, and it was my favorite book ever. And that's just when it was just all scary stories, and one of them was about a girl.
recording now.
Listen, okay. No, you don't record in between, I don't think.
I mean, if I was a wealthy baron, I'd be like, I want a bigger.
This is creepy.
That way you can go further into the cemetery because it's going to be pretty dark. If anybody like goes past the marker of where we're at, try not to go past the next street, just because it does get residential over there and things get a little funky with the border lines. The cameras, yeah, let's get you guys like right up to the gate. So Chuck, let's get you right up to the wrought iron up here. Perfect. Yep, let's get your spirit boxes running. Kiki, you too, where you at? I don't hear you. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. All right. So if we get anything over here, I'm excited as far as the millimeters. So Karen and Patrick, I get excited about a 2.5 here.
Nothing's even coming.
How's your word list going, buddy?
Some branch.
This one, happy and donate was while we're walking towards the church.
It's a big stretch. I can't, like, you know what I mean? I'm putting it together. See how my mind starts to like, how can I piece it together to make sure it's working?
Get on it, Kiki. What is it?
When we were in the parking lot too, the number 30 came up. I forgot. I don't know if that associated with anything while we're in the parking lot.
Unless it's like the ending year. I can't remember when Thomas actually died. I'll have to look up the years. That would be right around the ballpark actually. So I'll look into it.
Okay.
Because that would make complete sense that we have the full date November 2nd of 1830. I want to say it's like 1828. I'll dive in and see what I got. So, Kristie, is this what you thought you signed up for with all the text that you sent me earlier? It's a lot different, isn't it?
Oh, it's super fun. I'm happy we came.
I told you, it's a lot different. So I get a lot of texts like what you sent me. I was like, oh, great. She's going to be one of them.
No, I'm not. It's just like with Kiki. She and I, just by nature being mother-daughter, we
Sure.
just disagree about almost everything.
Sure. That's what
So
we do.
I almost do it just in the spirit to disagree. But
I'm sure you see like why I use so many different devices and why
oh
the
yeah,
history is
because it's like you're cross-referencing and
Always.
ruling out all
and I
cross
have to do it on the
elimination.
fly. That's the
Yeah.
where I get to have fun because I'm literally like my brain is going the whole time with every time they tell me something and you guys see something.
Yeah, I think it's so very interesting. Even that story you just told, Kiki said she had read in some book about the. We have family that got someone that got married over here, but we remember someone telling this story about the girl with the cane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just weird because this story isn't often told, which is
Yeah,
why I
it's
kind of
not.
latched onto it.
Yeah, it's not common. It's just she read
I think there's
something.
the version I have of it is in a book, and I also found a version of it on Goodreads, which is
Yeah.
kind of like a Facebook for book
Yeah,
nerds.
yeah.
That like they put out the whole story, and I was like, oh, that's actually they laid
Pretty
it out.
pretty
They
interesting.
summarized it. Patrick, you got anything, man?
Nah. I think I just I damp it out. My spirit is just so chill.
That's because you're so chill.
I know.
All those steps. I'm just kidding.
Sarah, you getting in there?
Gil and mom.
It's pretty big. So, did you break it again, Jim?
I was surprised when you said it was new. Like,
Kiki, what you got? Mm-hmm.
It said fires.
Any numbers up?
It said fires. I was curious now.
Tell him.
Well, I'm like,
He's asking everyone.
he said it was kind of.
She said she heard something.
I was just coming to talk to her. What do you got?
Oh, okay. I just heard fires in December.
I can't remember. I want to say this actually happened in June.
Yeah, that's. I was like, this one it was December.
Well, the fire that took out the mansion was in December.
Oh, it was?
December 11th. Yeah. So, you guys are the locals, right? Like you live here.
Yeah.
So, you know that the weather is weird here.
Yeah.
Like,
But what happened with that fire was someone was just trying to stay warm. It was up by where the KRISTIE grocery store is, like up East Bakery. And
Yeah.
it got out of control and came down and destroyed the mansion and then went across to the other side of the peninsula.
That's
That was
crazy.
the path of it.
it's got 9.5,
Ooh.
like above that, 2 and over that.
What did it say?
9.5.
9.5. That's exciting. I like Angelina. How you doing on that thing? Figuring it all out.
Kiki. Is that a person on
It's
the...
the grave, Mom.
Everybody's getting readings over here, so let's see if we can get anything crazy on the camera, Kristen?
Nothing really. I just shifted a little
You see
over.
why I had to like keep it still?
Yeah, because when I do that, then
Right.
I get that, and then
Exactly.
it's...
Anything else weird? L. Okay. All right. Angelina, what's your timer look like? How long is it?
Hi, we're fucking crazy.
Yes, let's hit those record buttons. We're gonna stay in nice and tight. No meters, no minutes. We got 200 meters.
Oh my gosh. I see a lady with the crown and eyeglasses and wine.
Ladies with headphones, what color is a blue banana?
Hosting?
Okay, you can't hear me. Perfect. Henry, I got 3 folks sitting on this bench. 3 young ladies. We're hearing sounds from a church. Let's verify you're here.
Is it for real?
Tell us what sound you're hearing from the church. Henry, what sound
Talk.
are we getting from the church? We're using the blue box as well. So you,
San Francisco?
so you can give us images to relay your answers if you can.
Welcome.
Thank you. Henry,
4-2.
let's talk about your work. If you're not going to tell us what we're hearing right now, what did you do for a living? I know these are the same questions I always ask, but that's how we get started.
Turn.
What did you do for a living?
48.
I like it. You have the word print that showed up, Henry. Try to use.
Speaking to a crowd.
Yes. We're going to try to channel through the
Is especially cryptic.
Talk to us about your last page.
Human. Right beside you.
What's so special about the last page?
Valid. Time.
If you want me to change the subject, you have to let me know the topic to change it to. Dr. Ladd, if you're here, you need to use,
47.
you need to use this code word. Dr. Ladd's code word for everybody to use purple. It's not a common word to use on right here, and the only cool thing about this session is because this house is right around the corner. Henry, back to you. We're going to get back to your work.
On the shoulder.
What's so, yeah, they get a tap on the shoulder if they're too loud. What's so,
Comical, absurd.
wow, she's like going crazy.
I'm getting some flashes on the reading too.
That computer is so sensitive. Very sensitive.
Trigger sometime.
Trigger and sometime. Henry, use the blue box. I'm sure Kiki doesn't want to fall asleep in there by floating over the earth.
Stairs.
Only one?
Totally.
Henry,
No evidence with this.
Henry, what's so special about the last page you wrote?
Oh my.
Let's stay on topic, Henry. Henry. You know we don't you don't do this for long. You've already been here at 3, going on 4 minutes. Tell us about your last page that you wrote. You want to change that. Change topic. You need to tell us the topic to change it to. We can talk about your wife, talk about your son,
Description.
talk about your best friend that lent you his cottage.
Person.
Which part?
Being put on trial.
Henry. Did anybody come here with you?
Ash.
That's a yes no question.
Situation.
And it's very noisy here tonight, isn't it? You know, with machines here.
Years.
22.
You getting any readings over there? Henry, let's talk about what's going on here in real time. You got a lot of machines. You said the word ears. Was that is it too loud? Too loud for you? Is it too loud for you here? Because it's a little even distracting for me.
Guilt.
Can you give us another image? Wow.
The nearest of 10.
I missed what she said. I'm gonna catch it.
About one thing.
those frequencies, try to use the words to answer our direct questions. I'll ask again, is it too loud for you here with this machinery? Versus in competitors,
Chosen.
I feel like we got Dr. Lag here.
You could do the worst.
Life.
Dr. Lag, can you use your code word for us? Let us know you're here. Why don't you just give us an image with that particular code word in it? Just show us something purple.
Human.
Great devotion.
Henry, did you bring Dr. Lag here with you? She also said 22 earlier, didn't she?
Yes.
That's when Dr. Lag died. She was 22.
Storage.
What was it?
Storage.
Storage. I'm not really sure what that means. Wow, Sarah's like really zonking out over here. Like she's in the zone, man.
From
Henry,
St. Bernard.
we're going on 7 minutes, Henry.
Crash.
We're running out of time. If you want us to leave,
Unholy.
use the word home.
Free.
Stone.
Henry, I try not to pry, but we do talk to you every night. I know you're not always happy about me being here. If you want us to leave, you want us to leave,
Stop that.
use the word.
Poet.
Use the word home. Did she just say poet or
Yes.
no?
Poet.
Henry, tell us about your last word. Change the subject. I appreciate that. Liberty.
Uplifting.
You didn't always write about the war, though, did you? Can you tell us what else you wrote about?
Fire.
Tickets.
Not subject.
Henry, what else did you write about?
Sheriff.
Exercise. Jailer.
Henry, we're about 8
Master.
minutes.
Communicate.
I'm trying to. You're not
Everything.
giving us much. Simple yes, no answer. Is it too loud for you here to come by and give us a quick hello, a few images?
My day. What?
Henry, if you throw us one more image, we'll wrap it up.
Experiment.
It is a big experiment. Come close to the blue box.
Because.
Language.
That one too. Henry, last chance. You're not giving us much.
Bullet.
Henry going once.
Uncles.
Henry going twice. Last chance, Henry.
Road.
And Henry, I'm going to say goodnight. Can you say goodnight
They
back
were
to us?
provided for.
Going once, going twice.
All animate and inanimate.
Okay, let's get the ladies tapped out. Can you peel that thing
Ceremony.
off your face?
Hate it.
Very weird session. Very weird. Yeah, nobody moved. Here, as far as yours goes, you do have a button next to your volume.
Yeah.
So turn that button in the opposite direction. It'll stop the recording so you know that the last 10 minutes was from this experiment. Let's take a look at the one image that we did get. It was a clean glass of wine. So, yeah, move your cameras, hit those stop buttons. So